From the kitchen, to the living room, to the bathroom, technology has affected, in good or bad, every aspect of our daily lives. Our children, our parents, our grandparents, all now need somehow to adapt to the changes and the challenges that new technology is bringing to us. Tonight, on Good Evening EFSC, our guests are going to talk about those precise changes that society has brought to our lives. We're going to see how technology has changed our way of socializing. We will then see how technology has changed our healthcare system. And finally, we will explore the new types of entertainments brought by new technological advances. Now, Dakota, who are our guests tonight?
Our first guests are going to be our resident experts in the past, Madison and Kelly. Our next guests up will be our resident experts on the future, Matt and Brett. So, in today's world, communication is a huge thing. I know most people in here have one of these, the phones. Most people, they have their own phones in their pockets, smaller phones. But what were phones like back in the past?
Well, back in the past, we didn't have the convenience of cell phones. So if you were expecting an important call, then you would have to actually wait at home. We didn't have call waiting, and answering machines were far too expensive to have in home. And so if you were expecting that important call, then you would just sit at home and basically wait for it. Now, I can't imagine having to sit at home and wait for, an interview to call me back, or maybe, a boy to call me, or anything like that.
So you're telling me I can't just call someone at any time? That they might not even be there at the phone at the ready when I call them or text them?
Yeah, and they might not even know that you ever called them as well.
That sounds pretty bad. It's going to get, I know it was bad back then, it's pretty good now, but what about in the future?
Well, I think as the phones change in the future, we will have more information delivered to us directly, as opposed to having to even ask for it from our phone. And it won't even be a phone per se that you have in your pocket. The term phone may go away. You may call it your terminal or something of that nature. Into 2040, it's really hard to predict where or what we would call the technology. Imagine augmented reality that we have on our phones nowadays, progressing to the point where it would be automatically displayed to you in a heads-up display in your glasses. Walking down the street, you would see reviews for restaurants you walk by, maybe, unfortunately, advertisements for stores you're walking by. Or if people have it open, imagine a Facebook profile that pops up when someone walks by you on the street telling you their interests and their likes.
Speaking of Facebook, networking. Networking is a huge part of technology nowadays. What about you, Mri? Do you use social networking?
All the time. I go on my Facebook every single day. I check who likes what I say, who likes my picture. My phone has become my friends, my social way of interacting with them. It's not just a phone, basically. My phone is my computer, is my camera, is pretty much everything.
Wow. So, I know I use a lot of social media too. What about in the past? Did you guys tweet each other and Facebook each other and poke each other online?
No, we did not have a social network back then. We had what was called BBS, which was Bulletin Board System, and that's how they would communicate. They would send files and just send data on them. I can't imagine not going without social network. Like, I found out about the latest drama every night. Like, I wouldn't want to have to wait the next day to school to find out about all the drama.
Sounds pretty brutal. But even in today's world, social networking, you have to go on a phone to use. In the future, is it going to be better? Do I still have to open up my phone, type in my password just to get on social media?
No, it's going to be pretty much instant. You're going to get to it, and it's going to be pretty much a computer, well, pretty much wherever you are. As you said, with the glasses, it's going to be a phone and a computer, as you said. You'll be able to access pretty much whatever you want, just pretty much by you saying it. No hands used. It's all going to be voice activated.
And there are other directions that the technology could go besides just glasses. Think about any wearable computer. It could be embedded in your jacket, in a ball cap, an armband, a headband. people could have different ones. You may not know that that person that you're talking to actually has a wearable computer on them, recording or taking video.
So the person I'm talking to could be recording me with their hat, and I wouldn't even know.
In the not too distant future, it could be quite possible, which
Wow.
opens up questions of privacy, you know, public recording, but I think we need to address those questions now as opposed to later.
You know, a big thing nowadays, especially with all the technology we all have, is globalization. I know we're all getting a lot closer. It's kind of like in the old days when America had a revolution, all the other places, they heard about the revolution, they wanted to do it. Nowadays, America has this new fashion craze, all the other people hear about it, they want to do it. A lot of policies are getting close together. What about in the past? Did you guys have close policies where if America did something, everyone else knew about it, they wanted to do it too, or Russia did something, it's a new thing?
No, we did not. We had long distance. Like, if you wanted to communicate with someone, you either had to mail it, send it out. Like, they didn't have email. You know, send a message in the mail and then wait for them to respond.
I can't imagine how many letters have been lost that way.
Right.
I would be so sad to wait for that precious letter from my fiance. Luckily today, we have messages that are sent almost instantaneously. How is it going to be like in 10 years from now?
10 years from now, the global network will be reinforced. You will be having network access in places where today you wouldn't even think about it. Deserts, mountains. They will be moving away from the tower-based cell system that we all use today to a more space-based satellite system where possibly in the next 30 years there might be every square inch of the planet Earth with network access.
Which increases the safety, the security, but also, as you mentioned, the potential risk for people spying on you.
You know, talking about risks, another big factor in technology, healthcare.
Healthcare is growing so fast, and I really am grateful for technology to come in and be able to scan your body and almost can all codes your DNA and creates cures that are made for yourself. I know that in the past it was such a hassle to go to the doctor and get an X-ray, and complicated procedures were having a lot of risk, and nosocomial infections were really high as well. Nosocomial meaning an infection that you acquire in the hospital. Would you agree on what I say?
Oh yeah, definitely. We weren't as advanced, you know, back then in the healthcare industry as we are today, especially with the imaging, like the X-rays that you were speaking of. You know, there were more risks with them as there are now, and as well as they weren't able to visibly see in great depth what we could see nowadays, which is, you know, very great.
So, can we expect any changes in the healthcare field? Will I still have to start taking medicine after I get sick and after I'm feeling like, you know, really bad?
In the future, you will have something in your home that will actually scan your body. If you even feel like you are even getting a little cough, and it will tell you exactly what's wrong with you, maybe what you can do to stop it, or it might actually pop something up and give you something that will take care of it right then and then, to save you the visit to the doctor's office and actually save you the gas money, because it might be like $20 a gallon.
So that would be like a portable doctor that would be machine-like and
Yes.
cure me and heal me right away.
Well, already at the University of Illinois, researchers have a flexible biochip that they can apply to your skin, much like a temporary tattoo, that will monitor your blood pressure and can do EMGs and EEGs. And that's just the prototype. Imagine 30 years from now what a similar application would be able to provide. It will be the zenith of what the healthcare field is calling remote patient monitoring. It will minimize basic trips to the doctor's office that people sometimes will make, and they will do a no-show, costing hospitals and other doctors' offices money throughout the year. Nationwide, it adds up to millions of dollars. If you could minimize the need for routine checkups with remote access, wireless technology, and doctors and nurses can check on a patient that did a no-show and see, well, they're okay. They didn't even have to come.
Right, and maybe have the results of their vital signs on their secure network.
Exactly. You might have a call center like place that handles data, that monitors people. They get a red flag, they send it to the ER doc. The ER doc decides if we need to send somebody out there to check on them or not. Saving money in the long run in all of healthcare, lowering the cost for everybody.
Wow, that's sure going to make a lot of improvements for our society and our citizens.
So another big part of the healthcare field, besides being, just sick and everything else, is imaging. I know recently I actually broke my ankle. It was terrible, felt really bad. I don't know what's wrong with it. But how are they supposed to know? It's inside my skin. They can't just know I was going to cut open my entire leg just to see, oh, it was just a bruise. Better sew that back up. Instead, they got the CAT scan, which I thought was really cool myself. It did a full scan of my ankle. I went to the waiting room, waited a few minutes. Then they pulled up a full 3D image of my ankle. They were zooming in on it. The doctors were showing, oh, see how it broke here and this happened. They knew exactly what to do afterwards. Have you ever heard of these other awesome machines called MRI machines, which scan your soft body tissue and can image? What about in the past? Did they have machines that could do that? They could put up full 3D models of your ankle?
Well, not 3D, no. Back in the 70s, that was when we first had our first MRI image. But it wasn't as visible or clear, and obviously not in 3D as well, because they weren't as technologically advanced. And also, they weren't as comfortable as they are today. They didn't make them, as easy accessible or, patient-centered. It was more just about, trying out the new technology and going from there to improve later on.
That just came on the market, right? And the amount of radiation was also significant, I believe, in the past.
Mm-hmm. They didn't, realize just as dangerous it would be, having something like that, with radiation and things like that. They couldn't really, figure out those statistics until they started really widely using it more often.
Right. I remember my grandparent going to the store for buying shoes and having an X-ray taken of his foot instantly, and that's just after trial and error that they finally discovered that this was not good for you. But what about in the future? What kind of technology are we expecting for healthcare?
I think in the near future, a lot of the imaging devices will be smaller, using less radiation as sensors and become more sensitive to be able to use lower power levels.
Right.
Portable X-rays are already in use today. You maybe not see a portable MRI. There is a new imaging system called magnetoacoustics that uses both methods from the ultrasound and the MRI together. And using that technology, they can get a very accurate and a 3D image of the body part that they would like to image.
So technology is going to get smaller and more affordable.
And safer.
Right, and safer. We're now talking about nanotechnology. Now, how is this going to affect other areas?
I was actually thinking more on it, and you mentioned nanotechnology.
Yes.
I was kind of wondering, is nanotechnology going to be a thing in the future, or is it going to be kind of like now, where it's a little probe people just control, they go through your body, they look to see where different things are, if they're going to do an operation? Or is it actually going to become something bigger, where they can just, like in the sci-fi movies, repair your cells and instantly repair your bones?
In the future, it will be, say if you break a bone, they will actually be able to find the break and maybe actually mend it, not really fully heal it, but enough so where you would actually maybe be able to drive yourself to the hospital or walk to the hospital if needed.
So what Brett is saying is that we're going to have a decreased need for invasive procedures.
Yes.
Basically.
So you're telling me I just need to drink a cup of water? I don't need them to do a full surgery on my broken bone?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say water, but it'd be more like Kool-Aid. It'd be like a little flavored drink, and you won't even notice that you're drinking it because they're all microscopic. You drink it, and it goes through your machine. The thought of it is very weird, but if you think about it and what it will actually do for you, it's a awesome achievement.
That would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, some experimental projects are going really far to that nowadays.
So another very dominant field in technology, of course, video games. How many people in here have ever played a video game? That's pretty much everyone. So I know today video games are going a lot farther. I know I was just playing a game where it's a huge open world game. You can make your own decisions. You don't even have to follow the main storyline. You can do all the side things, forget about the storyline. You could be the best guy in that world or the meanest guy who everyone hates. Did they have those games back in the past?
They did have video games in the past. They weren't as complicated as they are nowadays. As far as the storyline, there wasn't as big of a storyline in there. And the graphics also, they weren't as high def as they are today. They were more like little pixels, things like that. It required more of an imagination when you were playing, other than that. And you couldn't, play online like nowadays with your friends, even down the street or, across the country, things like that.
Yeah, I know today, I don't know how I'd be able to do that. I can play with my friends neighborhoods away. I've even played with people in different worlds. I'll be in a game and I'll hear people speaking different languages. All of a sudden you hear someone yelling in Spanish, then in Chinese. And it's pretty fun. In the future, will they be doing stuff like that still? Or is it going to go back to text games and pixels?
I think in the near future, you're going to see a lot of entertainment companies merging the movie, video game, and TV markets, possibly having storylines that cross over back and forth between them. A game or a movie might be similar to the Choose Your Own Adventure books that they have for the young children in school, where you and I could play a game made by the same people, but making different decisions in that game could lead to a totally different experience and type of game.
So I know today they're working on kind of virtual reality games. I saw this, it's a big clunky device you put on your face. You can look around and the person has this huge clunky device around them, looks like a waistband holding them. In the game it's kind of pixelated, they're running. Is it going to get any better than that, or are we just going to be stuck with controllers that we have to move?
I think the companies and I think the consumer wants it also, the totally immersive experience. Whether it be wearing goggles or maybe even a room in the house that's dedicated solely to entertainment. They have recently developed an omnidirectional treadmill for use in virtual reality and training actually for the military. A treadmill that you can walk on in all directions, stopping, turning, walking sideways, and as you're wearing the helmet, your legs and feet, there is no perceptual difference than walking on regular ground.
Wow, that sounds pretty amazing. It sounds like it's going to get a lot more in-depth than we have today. So, I know another big thing is discs. I know today, I was just downloading some stuff onto a disc, and it was Blu-ray. It held a lot of information, but it didn't really hold as much as I wanted. Back in the past with VHS, I think, and those VCRs, I can't really remember them. How was it back then with those? I heard they didn't really store anything.
With VHS and VCR, you had to actually, rewind instead of just skipping
Wait,
back.
so every time I watched something, I had to rewind the entire movie?
If you wanted to go back to the beginning, yes, you could. Also, cassettes were very popular instead of the CD-ROMs that you have nowadays. It was cassettes and Sony Walkmans and VHSs.
Wow, that sounds pretty bad. I don't know how they made it back then. What about in the future? Are we getting any better than Blu-ray? Or are we going to be stuck with a disc that only holds so much information?
Right now, it does seem like everything is going digital. You will be able to get on your Google glasses and watch a movie when you're walking through Town Square, or you'll just go to an online store, buy a movie. It'll instantly be on whatever you want, your phone, your little computer glasses, whatever you want it on, it will be instantly accessible to you.
So in the middle of a press conference, if I got really, really bored, I could just reach out with my Google glasses and download a movie online and just watch it right there in the press conference. And would they even know?
Yeah, well, no, they wouldn't know, but I wouldn't suggest it. Because you wouldn't be working there very long.
Wow, that sounds really cool. So another big thing is education. Technology has greatly affected education. I know in a lot of classrooms today, they're doing these new virtual boards where you can write on the board and they turn off the little projector and there's nothing there anymore. You don't have to erase the stuff, it was projected on there. In the past, did they have cool things like that or iPads in classrooms?
No, they did not. They had overhead projectors, but they were much larger than they are today. And they had chalkboards, but they were starting to go to the dry erase boards. And then the handheld calculators were starting to come out. And when the teacher would bring out the projector, the kids would get all excited because you would think they're watching a movie. But nowadays, when they bring out the projector, you're like, oh, work on the board, go. So that was the classroom back then.
Wow, that sounds...
An old feather and ink and a notebook. The teacher going with the ink to the desk of each student and writing with his chalk on the chalkboard. Yeah, we discovered actually that a few teachers were allergic to that. But in the future, no way we're going to have any of those troubles, will we?
I doubt the chalkboard is going to remain a staple in education in the future.
Right. Maybe like a symbol.
I think the structure of education itself is going to be changing.
Okay.
In the far future, I would not be surprised if we saw the disappearance of the traditional school that kids go to in the morning. There will be possibly more homeschooling, only getting together with classmates and their professor for maybe a lab or maybe to play games or interact with each other on, more personal level.
Educational games.
Maybe. Or sports games.
I can have my kids go to school and play games.
I think the lessons will be more tailored to their specific desires and their interests.
Mm-hmm.
And you might have somebody who is your age, but their work might be twice as advanced as yours because they are moving at a faster pace. The education system, I think, is going to adopt technology and allow students to excel at their own pace.
Wow, that sounds awesome. So I don't have to be stuck with a classroom just because they don't understand 5 plus 5. I don't have to wait 2 days for the teacher to explain that.
Exactly. That student who does understand that can move right on.
So college life today, I know a lot of people play a lot of games in college, don't really pay attention to college. And especially today, technology can be a huge hindrance in college. What about back in the past? Did they really get on electronics and let that distract them?
Well, with electronics, as far as in education, we did have educational games like Oregon Trails and things like that. Other than that, we didn't have cell phones to distract us, and video games and things like that really distract us from our schoolwork.
Wow. So what about in the futures? Is it going to be a bigger problem, or is it? I don't really know if it's a problem nowadays. I know there's a lot of people do it. Is it going to become a problem in the future?
Absolutely not. In the future, as you said, it's pretty much all going to be home-based. As we speak, they're working on a projection system where the teachers don't even have to go to schools. When the kid does class, the teacher will be right in front of them giving him the lesson. And if need be, they skip back, redo it. So keep up with the class. And people that are more fast-paced could do it, go, keep going.
Oh, dang it. Does that mean it's no more, if the teacher's 15 minutes late, no class rule?
No, if you're not at home, well, if you're with your parents, you're still going to do your homework.
So, I wanted to thank everyone for coming out today and listening to this, all of our guests speak. It was very informational. I want to thank Madison, Kelly, Brett, and Matt for all of your different views in the past and the future.
Thank you.
Tonight we have focused on how technology in the past, in the present, and the future to where we are today has influenced, will influence, and change all of our lives. How it can enrich our lives. Not only make life easier and allow us to pursue dreams, but bring health to those who needs it, bring education to those who desire it, and most powerful of all, bring us all together as one family on planet Earth. Bottom line, technology now is virtually in everybody's life. And eventually, one day, it may allow us to realize our fanciest dreams. Thank you.